Rowan College of South Jersey's live online classes deliver real-time lectures and face-to-face classroom interaction right to your door.
In a lot of ways, it wasn't much different than any in-person class.
You just turn on your computer and you're in the classroom. It's simple.
We're going through some tough times right now, but live online learning is awesome.
With live lectures and real student interaction, you can learn your way. Visit rcsj.edu to register today.
Welcome to Rowan College of South Jersey's continuing series of virtual town halls. Today's format is new because students and employees are both in attendance. I'm Josh Piddington, RCSJ's Vice President and Chief Information Officer, and it's my pleasure to act as the moderator for today's town hall. In just a few moments, you'll hear from our panelists, which will consist of Dr. Frederick Keating, our college president, Vice President and Provost, Dr. Brendan Rickards, Vice President of Student Services, Judith Atkinson, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Dominic Bersicelli, Dr. Jim Picone, Vice President of the Cumberland Campus, Susan Nardelli, Special Assistant to the President for Institutional Advancement, and Dr. Sue Hall, Dean of our Nursing and Health Professions Division. Dr. Hall is also our college's Medical Director. I want to acknowledge that our Board of Trustees Chair, Jean Concordia, is attending today's town hall. For students who are in attendance and may not know how our college's governance structure works, President Keating and ultimately the college reports to our Board of Trustees. Our board is truly collaborative and works hand in hand with the president and our college to make sure we get our job done. Thank you, Mr. Concordia, as well as any other board members who are attending. We all appreciate your continued collaboration, support, and of course, taking time to be here today. If you're new to our virtual town halls, you may be wondering, how do I ask a question? Our goal is to make that as easy as possible, so please look for the chat button. Click or tap that button to send us your questions. We'll do our best to ask all the questions during the town hall, but if we run out of time, we promise to get back to you either through an email, a call, or through our FAQ. Note that if you've called in, you'll be unable to ask questions during the event. Finally, we are recording today's town hall, and we'll make it available from the town hall website within a couple of days. Dr. Keating, we're successfully progressing through our fall semester with more than 90% of our classes taking place online. Our college made that decision earlier than just about anyone in New Jersey, and we know that added a level of stability for our students and our employees. Believe it or not, the spring semester is upon us and registration will begin soon. Given the fact that COVID-19 pandemic is still among us and the infection rate is still high and even increasing in some states, what should our students expect this spring?
Well, thank you for the lead-in questions, Josh. And I would like to say good afternoon to the college community, specifically any students who have joined this conversation. I first of all would like to hope that and wish that all of you are in good health and in a position where you're able to not only take care of yourselves, but your family, because all of us are suffering through this pandemic. And as I said before, and we've talked around the college community, this is turning out to not be a sprint, but to be a marathon. So with that in mind, our safety and our well-being stands again at the front of our conversation. We have sought and have received through Dr. Hall and other medical professionals constant guidance with regard to where we are and where we're going as an institution. So again, to preface my remarks, I just want to wish all of you, continued health, and recognize that your employer, this college, this Board of Trustees, these boards of chosen freeholders in Cumberland and Gloucester County are both very much aware of the stress and strain, not only that puts on us to operate the institution, but to literally operate our own lives and our families. So wanted to frame the conversation that way. We are now in the middle of October. We have opened the fall semester. We felt that we made the right decision, and I personally, and I believe the leadership of the college and the board feel that we have made the right decision to be a largely online institution. Others that went out a little bit more engaged have pretty much retreated to this venue. We felt again that it would be critical to get a message out about the future sooner than later. So our cabinet has talked, and we are of mind, and in talking to the chairman this morning, to put out our plans for the winter and the spring, and to try to put some understanding around the conditions that we continue to engage in and where we're going as a college. Post-pandemic thinking has begun. Also with regard to the fact that even as I was informed this morning the vaccination trials of 4 of the major drug leaders are being halted. So this idea of the vaccination aspect of the horizon seems to be continuing to move back. These are all critical factors as we're suffering pandemic overload and pandemic stress. And I think the trick for that is to keep this college community together, supportive of one another, understanding the variables and accepting, as I say, our fate, and recognizing that this is not going to be easy to get through or get out of, but that we have a plan. We are executing our plan. Personally and professionally, as the president of the college, I am comfortable with the plan. So as we now enter into the middle of the second month, October, first of all, I would like to thank and somewhat support and congratulate the faculty and the staff, part-time, full-time, who have come together in very unique ways to support the student body, to enhance engagement in the academic process, to give clarity and understanding to their materials and their methodology as we now move into the deeper part of the first semester. Recognizing this is a very difficult situation for all parties. I don't think we ever can take that out of the equation. We were not built for what we were pushed into, but we are getting stronger and somewhat building to continue this approach as we plan the exit strategy and the eventual reconstruction of the college. So I would like to thank all. We have been all hands on deck. To those students that are on this call, I encourage you, I implore you to not give up your dream of a higher education, knowing that the stressors on you are tremendous, financially, socially, behaviorally, your families and the situation that they're going through, to try to focus and continue in this method to gain a higher education. I really hope you will continue to have the stamina and the strength, and that we, the college, can provide the ability to continue your studies. So once again, this concept of gap, whether it was September for the year, whether it was September for January, or whether it's now January, looking back at September, that we encourage you to keep the faith, trust in yourself, recognize the benefit, and continue on. We will be moving into the winter and into the spring semester in the same format and design that we are in today. So with this announcement today, I will formally, with the chair's acknowledgement, formally take this recommendation to our board. We'll be putting out and have put out, some consideration of feelers that the idea of changing to a more aggressive on-site delivery is just not the right thing to do. We are being guided by medicine, science, the interpretation, and to be quite frank, the chaos and confusion that surrounds it, that we as a county or counties, a state and a country are still, in my opinion, mired somewhat in no game plan, no exit strategy, and therefore a continuation of the same. I don't believe we challenge it. I don't believe we take undue risk. I don't believe the benefit exceeds the burden of trying to go live on the campus with the possibility of singular breakout and the testing availability we lack, and the understanding of the tracing, that the disruption would exceed the benefit or the potential for disruption. So with that in mind, we have staked ourselves on 2 pillars. One is medical, health, and safety of our staff, our student body, and our community. And the second one is continuity and stabilization of the institution and the instruction. So by keeping it steady, we feel we can navigate this choppy ocean we're in and bring the institution and the student body to the other side and literally live to fight another day. So I am today announcing that we will continue with the 3 format consideration of hybrid, online, live online, the synchronized aspect of learning. I have asked and charged the provost, Dr. Rickards, and he will speak later, with regard to working with the deans, the faculty, the full-time, and the adjunct population, that we come together academically to once again enhance the product, strengthen the connectivity, provide the support in unusual ways, but we'll take them all, that we reach out to one another, student to faculty, faculty to student, to once again not only engage and continue to engage in this process, but to continue to get tremendous benefit. And I believe an experience that's probably going to serve all of us for the rest of our lives, of how we got through. So there is some character and strength building in this relationship as well. And we will get through this. We will get through this. I believe we are mired somewhere in the middle. The state of New Jersey is still in phase 2. We have not been given much in the way of clarification of the eventual exit of stage 3. I hold out hope that as we at least strengthen the therapeutic aspect of treatment, that we lessen the duration and the impact of infection, that can we at least loosen up a little bit to re-engage as we go into the spring. So if I may, as we talk about a continuation of the same through the winter and the spring, I implore the faculty to find ways to continue to enhance the instruction, for technology and tech support, to be much more aggressive and sharpen our game with regard to the support and the provision of service, to talk to our student service division with regard to the ability to continue to find ways to counsel, to engage, to advise, to recognize that financial situations are at a strain and a stress, but we, the college, are prepared, and we have money, literally money that was left on the table in September from financial aid. Our financial aid divisions can guide individuals into, and our foundations with regard to support and scholarship, and making monies available for not only technology, which we did and will continue to do, and we've tightened that relationship with Barnes & Noble for the future, but also with regard to learning materials, as well as tuition and fees. To that end, financially, we will not be touching or changing the tuition or fee structure of the college at the new year. We will continue through winter and spring at the same cost per credit and fee structure that we have today. Again, let me be clear as I can. Our goal is stabilization. We are trying to hold the institution and the population that serves and is being served in a steady, clear understanding of the format and the style. But while we are doing it, we are learning, we are changing, we are enhancing, and we are improving the way that we are functioning. Some by just time and trial and error, some by design, most of which is design, and the ability of the faculty and staff and the leadership and the support aspect of this college. People are working extremely hard to make this work. So with that in mind, we're going to just continue on and again, stabilize the patient. We're going to stay in safe harbor. We're going to follow medical directions. Dr. Hall will continue, will comment today about the fact that some states in New Jersey has gone up and down in pandemic numbers. Gloucester County had moved to the top of the pile for a while. Cumberland was there for a while. There are variations of what's going on with community spread. The demographic is somewhat shifting to a younger population. I believe that higher education and maybe the four-year schools, by re-engaging aggressively in a residential life, have given us pause and spiking, but that was to be expected. And that's the risk-benefit relationship. So we're tucking in. We're going to continue. We're going to improve it. We're going to be clear. We're coming out in the middle of October with this clarification. There will be written documentation and then board endorsement and an announcement as we move into the next couple of weeks, that we will tell the college community and the community at large that this is the plan of the operation of this institution. So if I could, let me just go back and look at the issue of enrollment. And again, and as I spoke to the students that are on this call, if you're contemplating coming, we are very much interested to have you as a part of our community. If you've gone to a different school, or if you've sat in a gap consideration of the chaos of the fall, we ask you to take a good hard look at Rowan College of South Jersey. We believe in who we are and what we do, and we'll do it with your best interest at heart. So with that in mind, our student-centered culture is now embedded in a study of social justice, equity, and inclusion. We have charged the panel. The panel is now active and working in parallel to the strategic plan that was put on my desk in a finalized document yesterday. So we have a plan. We understand the unrest in our society. We are striving to be a more equitable institution with an understanding and a difference of how we view one another, but an ultimate level of respect that will be the baseline of our operation. That we talk to one another, we respect one another, we communicate accordingly. We'll be as transparent as we can be, and that's what these conversations are all about. So as we put this institution back together, and we are reconstructing, it has been dismembered. We all have been dismembered. As we put it back together, these will be the guiding principles. So to the student perspective or the current student weighing option, we implore you to look to us to be your partner to deliver your dream. Because if you pause it, if you fall away from the pathway that we've guided you on, then the idea of the breakdown or the dismemberment of your life situation with regard to higher education being a critical part of it will fail. We don't want that for you, and we don't want that for our collective body of the work that we do. To the individual that is, again, considering staying, I would hope that the announcement today of the continuation, that if you have question of what you experienced thus far, what you are going to experience for the remainder of the fall semester, that you reach out to the advisors. Keep in mind, our campus is open with a limited capacity consideration. Our library, open. Our testing centers, open. Our lab computer tech centers, open. Again, under restriction of CDC and state guideline of the cleanliness, the instrument, the use of it, the number of bodies in the room, and the spacing consideration. We're doing everything we can to hold together a net of support, and we will continue to do that. So if you are in classes now, I encourage you to move over to the idea that you're going to continue, make that decision, begin that advisement, begin that scheduling, talk to your professors, and get ready to continue the journey that we will end up doing this for an academic year. And that you not get lost in this shuffle. Our pledge to you is that we will hold you as close as we can to the institution and guide you through the process. And I wish you success. I really do. Higher education is a dream for many of us. It was for me. And I think that don't let that dream die. As challenging as these times are, that, you know, the idea of the ability to sustain yourself through this is going to be something, again, that'll be building your character for the rest of your life. To the faculty and the staff on the other side of this equation, as we continue on, please reevaluate the way you handle this semester. Please work as you have proven to do, to reach out in all ways to the student body, connect with them, support them, recognize that the idea of advisement, counseling, tutoring, and support is a job of each and every one of us who works for the institution. We are no longer operating in a silo-driven structure. We are all in this together to do all things together. It's the only way we're going to make it through. So I implore the faculty and staff to do what you do best, to teach, to give the student body the connective tissue that they need in these difficult times. Get us over to the other side. And in doing it, recognize your job is different than what you've experienced in the past. We're all in that situation. But without you attaching the student body, we, the college, stand on the precipice of some kind of crisis. So keep in mind that the enrollment, let me speak now to the numerical aspect of the relationship. When we talked last, we talked about the financial support and structure of the college. And we have 3 revenue considerations where our money comes in to operate and to instruct. With regard to the state of New Jersey, the last time we spoke, we had already received 2 50% reductions for the 4th and what was known as the 5th, which is the one we're in now, quarter. We're in October, we're out. That was back in for the extension quarter. October 1st, we came out. We're now in the first of 3 quarters of the next fiscal year, 21. With the 50-50 reduction, we showed you about CARES money. We talked about how we would balance the budget. We cut the spending. We moved our resources around and reallocated our assets, and we came through. The threat of the 25% reduction for this quarter and the next 2 quarters would have been traumatic. At the 11th hour, the state legislature and the governor compromised and took the budgets back to zero base. So we went back to where we were for the last decade. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't really ring true as far as there were nickels and dimes and plus and minus columns with the state, but they were never in a predictable pattern. We basically got the hold harmless clause every year. Now remember, inflation doesn't have a hold harmless clause. So that continues to rage on while your revenue sources stand still, hence the gap. So with regard to the state of New Jersey, one of the bigger cards, we are now in a zero base. We've got the 25% reductions were removed. And until this June 30th, 21, we have baseline consideration of the revenue that we saw in the past. Now we're reevaluating those numbers as we speak to try to get to a final determination that that is truly what the understanding is. But that's the way the legislation and the compromise of the governor and the legislature turned out. With regard to our counties, we've had tremendous support from both freeholder boards. There's no question there that they're behind us. And we're very lucky because in many counties and many of my colleagues are experiencing a cut at the county level. We are not. We are held harmless again. So there's not an inflationary consideration. There was a small increase, I should be corrected. There was a small increase for inflationary, but it was mild. It wasn't to keep pattern with the number, but it was supportive and it was in the right intention. And I think that shows the consideration of the freeholder board. Now, we have not gone to our respective county government and asked for additional funding as we approach the deficit that I'll explain. We reserve the right, and I reserve the right as the president, to work with the board to decide when or if we have to go to the county consideration for a so-called bailout position. But right now, we're hold harmless. So there's the state and there's the county. The really only revenue stream we have left is the student body, tuition and fees, which is a standard operational consideration, but it's almost 70% of the operational money of both Gloucester and Cumberland's budget. So keep in mind how disproportionate the student body and the cost that goes on their back is. We remain one of, if not the lowest tuition and fee structures in the state of New Jersey for 2-year or 4-year schools. So we are proud that we have made access and affordability cornerstones of the way we operate. But we can't hold on that situation forever. Now, last year, we did propose a $3 increase on the credit hour. It would have been a little over a 3% consideration of increment, which was a COLA or cost of living adjustment. That was rescinded after it was approved in March by the board in May because of the pandemic and the financial crisis that people found themselves in. And I just mentioned to you that there will be no recommendation from this cabinet or this president to the chair or to the board to change that as we approach the new calendar year and the winter overlapping the spring semester. So we are going to hold that consideration again the same. 22 is another day and another conversation. Right now, we're looking to get through 21. So with that status, we have lost a little over 8% of the enrollment on the Gloucester campus and a little over 11% of the enrollment on the Cumberland campus. And those numbers are now signed, sealed, and delivered to Trenton. When you look at the entire state of New Jersey, the sector of community colleges is down double digits. So we're trending better in a cumulative way and even somewhat to an individual pattern. The Cumberland retreat to 11 and change came from a projected deficit a month or so before of over 20%. That's reflective of the work the people on the campus did to bring that number down and for the student population to be re-engaged, to understand, and to elect to participate. Gloucester, we were hovering around 20% again, and that one was brought down to 8% and change. And that 8% or 8.6 actually was tied with 2 other county colleges as the best of the entire 18 county college profiles in New Jersey. So cumulatively, we are in a single digit. We are probably in the top 1, 2, or 3 in the state with our ability to survive and sustain ourselves through this pandemic. However, that is still pretty much a 10% reduction in 70% of your revenue. So I have to be very candid. Those that are thinking about the student idea, you've got the best consideration of access and affordability, and we pledge to you to work hard to keep it that way. To the people that work here and we look at the operation of the institution, we have to understand that we have taken approximately a 10% reduction, as I said, in 70% of our revenue stream. Dollar value, we are working with, and I am meeting almost daily with, the finance division, and they've done a fabulous job under Nick's leadership, Cheryl's leadership, and those on both Cumberland and Gloucester with regard to business office function, to give us the crystal ball vision as to the numerical aspect of those percentages. It appears, and the numbers that I'm working with today, until they nail it down by the end of this month of October, is we are roughly down $1 million in Gloucester and about $1 million in Cumberland. How we arrived at that deficit is different, but nevertheless, they are probably riding about on parallel tracks. Why is that critical? Because here we sit in October, agreeing on safety and continuity and stability to stay online for 90%, go into a hybrid or an on-campus delivery for the modified clinical aspect of programs that must be that way, and continue it not only through the winter, but through the spring. Now, before we get into any of the details, and down the road later, we'll talk about the spring, because already I'm getting questions, are we going to lose another commencement? What are we going to do about the celebratory aspect of this? We got to salvage something. Let's at least understand. I go by news report by news report. It is fluid and of the moment. As I said, I was told this morning that 4 drug companies have retreated in their trials. That's not a good thing. So we're going day by day, but I'll get to that. And we know that's on the horizon when we made the decision of the spring. We know that the continuation of this pattern for an entire year with summer and winter embedded is stressful, is taxing, will challenge us greatly. Again, no sprint, marathon. But when you look at the revenue aspect, we must understand that this controls our fate. We can't run an institution in red ink. So we are working on budget against the $1 million deficit. How do we get there? We are working every day to change the spending pattern, to use an attrition pattern of correction on labor. I mentioned to you before, we are not hiring. And if we do get a vacancy, we run it through a 3-pronged test. Can we live without it? Can we do it from within? Or if not, and we must, it's non-discretionary, then we will go get an individual to join our community. So let me say this to the faculty and staff, as I said before. If you recognize that's the pattern of correction, and that is the pattern of correction that I preach and try to live by, attrition, voluntary exit with recovery underneath. But that only goes so far and it only goes so fast. And the revenue shortfall is exceeding the model. However, you play to the model in the best interest of your people and you protect your employees. So with the $1 million deficit that we are literally chasing now, I have a concern that I need expressed today to all parties. January. If we go into January spring semester, knowing what we know right now of how we will operate, and we know that we've got from mid-October till then to support, to enrich, to encourage, and to recruit enrollment. If we suffer another drop in enrollment in January, which historically county colleges drop fall to spring, even in a non-pandemic world. If we experience like that, that will exacerbate the deficit. So keep in mind, I beg you to please focus on holding one another together, student engagement, student support, recruitment. There are students that are looking at us now that did not look at us before because they have buyer's remorse for what they made as their decision in September to not engage, to think they would gap the year or at least the semester. But this train didn't, it didn't go by. It's still running over us. There's others at four-year institutions that are now in buyer's remorse that they'd have been better off with us. The quality, the control, the safety, the security, and the stability of their instruction, which now looks like for all of us, 4s and 2s, will be all year. Please keep it in mind because we cannot literally afford another downturn in our enrollment pattern. So we preach to both sides of the house, the student body to re-engage, talk to your professors, stay in and pursue, and on our faculty, staff, and the others that are supporting it, do the same, engage, support, and continue to brand and promote this institution as the best and most viable option in a pandemic situation in higher education. We pride ourselves on who we are. So with that in mind, we're going to scrub the budget one more time. We're going to squeeze for the spending reduction that we already started, knowing this day would arrive. We are going to hope that through a correction of our labor adjustment, as we get labor adjustment, as we look at the spending, that we cut down to what I describe as discretionary and non-discretionary evaluation. If it is discretionary, we are going to look to stop it. If it's non-discretionary, we're going to have to argue it that it is. And then we'll make the judgment. But we are migrating what we deem to be non-discretionary now to be discretionary. So once we squeeze this lemon and try to get one more ounce of juice, we will also go into our employment profile and take a look at what we can do to, again, offset increase by replacement of individuals who choose now during the semester to come out. Is that going to be enough to get $1 million? No. But what it will give us is the last attempt to squeeze it to get to the reserve account that both colleges have. And as I told the board chair today, and the board that I will present this to both governmentally in the county and in the board of trustees, that we will go to our reserve and get the balance of the money. Once we get the balance of the money, which could be anywhere from $500,000 up to the entire $1 million, depending on the January enrollment, which either gets better or worse or stays the same, we will then ride this out for the remainder of the year from a structural institutional operation. You need to know there's stabilization in that thought, there's vision, there's a plan, and there's a way out. Plan A is what I just said. Plan B, we've got one, but we don't think we're going to need it, and we pray that we don't, because then we have to get more aggressive mid-year with the workforce. Now, to that point, I will continue and I will make again my recommendation, which has been accepted by the chairman who's on this call, that we will approach the board with a continuation, that there will be no furloughs, there will be no layoffs of any individual employed by Rowan College of South Jersey for the remainder of this academic year and budgetary year to June 30th, 21. We are one of a few. Pretty soon, I think we might be the only institution or business, for that matter, in our society that is completely holding the workforce harmless. We're proud of it. The more I read, the more I study, the more I think as the leader of this institution is that you take care of your people first. We must relieve the anxiety of unemployment. The bonus of the State CARES Act is gone. The idea of, there'll be another plan from the federal government, I don't hold out hope. We are a society in unrest. We are about to go through a presidential election. We have an awful lot on our minds, none of which is very good. So it's best that we stabilize. That is the institution saving you. And now, as I've always said, it's your turn to save the institution. So this is a gamble. We will buy our way out. We have it. That's what it's there for. This is the rainy day. I don't think it gets much worse than a pandemic. If it does, it does. I'm out. And I think that we'll find a way through to June 30th. So if we can hang on with enrollment, stabilize the ship, navigate the choppy water, stay together, relieve ourselves of the stress and anxiety of furlough or job loss, then I believe we can hold this institution fragilely together. And we will. And our hope and our prayer is that as we prepare the budget for 22 fiscal, all of these variables will come back in a matter of months. All 9 contracts of labor are up for negotiation. The state, in about what? We get into budget negotiations in Trenton in March, April, May. By June, they're supposed to have it. They didn't have it last year. If we have one this year for July 1st, so we'll know in the spring. The county governments will evaluate their budget and treasury, and our conversations that are going on now will come to fruition, and we'll know our county contribution. If our enrollment pattern continues as a sector and as a college to go down, we will exacerbate the problem, and we'll be talking this way again. Now we're in a different conversation. So our plan A, our plan, stabilize, engage the student body, recruit and encourage those to come to us, prove our value, access affordability of a quality higher education. Don't let your dream die. That we will do our job, and we are in a factor of trust. The board, the county, the cabinet, the president, we have moved this to where each and every one of you who is employed, who is on this call, that you just got hopefully a message of security, but there's a trust in that exchange. The institution wants your trust, not me, not the board, the institution. That the fact that we are working flex schedule, we will continue it. If we migrate to the top of 2 or get into 3 in the spring, we will re-engage more on campus. I don't know much we can do with academics, like Brendan will explain once we get going. So be prepared. We are bending over more than most institutions and certainly private industry with regard to return to physical presence and work. Work from home, flex, a few days in, a few days out, but keep your part in play. Redeployment, be open for it. I've been pushing the cabinet to do more of it because we have some positions that just can't work in this situation. What you do and how you do it doesn't work talking to a computer. We know that. So we are holding out trust and respect that we take care of one another, knowing that there's cracks in our armor. But the collective good is to secure the workforce, engage the student, and focus where it's most important, the student body. The student body, that is our goal, a student-centered culture. Recognize that we have a lot of issues behaviorally, socially, financially, emotionally, politically, and financially to get through, and families are in the same situation. Many of our families are in total crisis. We might be the only oasis in their life. So let's just do it that way. So that is the plan. That's the labor relationship. That's the financial gap. And here comes the hook when we approach 22. We have to figure out how we're going to meet 2 gaps. The one that we get by standing still, the inflationary cost of labor and business and contract, which traditionally is about $800,000 to $900,000 to $1 million a year, proportionate to Gloucester and Cumberland. Just standing still, we need that kind of new revenue. Then you go to the student body, as I told the chair this morning, the wild card. Because if that's 70% of the money to offset the inflationary cost, then you better make sure your negative is positive, your number is positive, not negative. So once again, this will not end. We are not going to turn the lights back on, everybody plug and play, come back in, kumbaya, and 7,000 to 10,000 students come and sit down. We will not see the senior class for traditional enrollment. I don't think we ever see them. Last year we lost them in March and we suffered. We won't even meet this population. They are the class of the pandemic. And they don't know, they're not even connected to their high schools really well. 2 days, half days, some attempted sports and social life, but it's not going to really hold to really be that good. So that's the population that we're talking. Non-traditionally, we are going to look at enhancing what's known as CCOG, Community College Opportunity Grant, which is free tuition and consideration for people in a certain family income structure. We're working with financial aid. As I said, we have money to offer to students, but students need to come here and explore and be shown how that they can apply and receive it so that education is affordable. That to me is the most frustrating thing. When I heard that we had scholarship and we had financial aid considerations readily available, but no takers, that was the saddest moment in the conversation that I put together to have this debate with you. So in summary, so you can get to the panel, we're going to go into 21 and keep it as an island. And therefore, once again, we're going to keep the pattern the same. We're going to keep the relationship the same. We're going to work and operate in a flex relationship. That'll be driven by the vice presidents and the special assistants to the president. That's the cabinet. They are going to modify their work needs in accordance with the times. And you, the employee, will be given the opportunity to understand where you fit into that. And once again, I want to make sure crystal clear, if our plan is not your plan, if there's some risk in your family, yourself, or whatever concern you have, you take that question or concern to HR and you invoke your right to contractual or statutory leave. We have to do what we have to do, and we are doing it in the kindest, gentlest way. We are in a hold harmless. So if we were letting everyone and push everyone back into the arena, we were furloughing or asking for furlough consideration voluntarily or involuntarily, if we were laying people off, I believe we would have some concern and complaint. We're doing none of it. We are not doing anything. So therefore, trust is the end of where I'm going to leave this thing. We are trusting you, the institution is, to deliver as best you can whatever you are assigned to do and whatever you can do to help beyond it, to pay back this institution for the faith and the trust that it embedded in this relationship. Knowing that it is time limited and condition variable. We could turn on a dime as we approach 22. We have several academic programs that we are looking to start. Our construction projects are on schedule. We have 2 that we're going to bring out on both campuses. But remember, when people say to me, if you can build buildings, you can pay people. Buildings are mortgages. Buildings are bonds. We don't hold the bonds. The counties hold the bonds. The state holds the bonds. We don't get into it. And in doing that relationship, we have to look at what we call operational money versus capital. So please understand, when we talk about the strain on the operational budget, we are not impacted in these 2 counties. And we're thankful so that the freeholders have not put on our back mortgages as well as operation. Think of your own home. You pay your mortgage and then you pay your living expenses. We pay living expenses, largely labor generated by student enrollment. There it is. So this college and this institution, I feel very strongly in the position that I'm in, is clear of mind. We know where we're going. This will end. We will get out. We will be one of the best and strongest when we emerge. We'll look around and probably be one of the few that's looking around. We will grow while we can inside of it. We have a difficult year to get through, more difficult financially next year, because inflationary and still dried up revenue that may even continue to decrease, and the biggest pocket is enrollment. So we're all in it, and we're all in it together. I believe we have done our part to support you, the student of the future, and certainly the employee, be you faculty or staff or administration. I believe we are focused on the right consideration of strategic thinking. We are a growth institution. We are about to sign a new relationship and an MOU with Inspira Health. The new CEO is willing to partner with us more aggressively. We have an expansion of our relationship with Rowan University. We've expanded our relationship with both VOTEX. We have expanded our relationship with the high schools. We are looking at an institution of neurodiversity with regard to specialized population. We have a work and learn model that we're expanding on. We have consideration of workforce development, entrenching more into our operation for labor demands. The chambers of commerce have all renewed their relationship with us as they scramble to keep their membership. We have held this place together. We are doing a good job. We're doing a great job, actually. But every day it gets harder and the stress gets greater. So please trust the system, understand it. You got a question, ask it. You got a concern, take it to your supervisor. You have, a situation about your ability to perform. When we lay out the methodology of the workload and the employment profile, talk to the vice president or the special assistant. Take it up with your director and go up the chain of command. Ultimately, if it's your decision and not ours, experience your rights, go to HR and talk about the option and the accommodation. We're going to bend over, but we will not break. We have an institution to run. We need credibility of our opportunity. Otherwise, we will just be shooting ourselves in not only the right foot, but the left foot. I wish you well. I hope you remain healthy. I hope that your families are able to get through this financially, emotionally. I'm more concerned about the emotional well-being of our student population and our faculty and staff, because this thing is wearing and it's got no end in sight. So understand, we made our decisions as best we could with what we had. I see no reason to change the course. I will take that recommendation to the county, to the counties, to the board. I've taken it to the chair and he's concurred. So this is our announcement today. We'll put it out in documentation. I know there's questions and the panel waits. And I've pretty much, again, done what I wasn't supposed to do, and that's chew up the hour. All right, I tried. I wanted to make sure I could give you the message. I know we're down to 10 or 15. Let's go to Q&A, Josh. And once again, stay safe. If you have questions, make sure you get in touch. And remember that we're all in this together. The complaint department is closed, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keating. To your point earlier, higher education is certainly life-changing for me, and I know I speak for everyone when I thank you for your leadership and your transparency. To everyone attending today, please get the word out about our college. Let your friends know about RCSJ and our safe approach to learning during this pandemic. Now is the time to apply for the spring semester. With that, let's get on to questions. Dr. Hall, I'll start with you. It's my standard question. I've seen in the news that COVID-19 cases throughout our country are on the rise. How are Cumberland and Gloucester counties holding up with regards to the pandemic?
Thank you, Josh, and I echo your remarks about Dr. Keating's leadership. Dr. Keating had conveyed a little bit about what's going on. And what we're seeing is that nationwide, a resurge is happening. Within the last 2 hours, CNN had reported that the resurge of COVID-19 cases is primarily due to a result of small household gatherings, and that's what's driving the numbers. Locally, we're seeing a resurge in both Gloucester and Cumberland counties. Back in the middle of August, there was about an average of around 10 positive cases per day. We're seeing now in each of the counties respectively anywhere from 15 to 25 positive cases. Gloucester is, as of today, over 5,000 positive cases, where Cumberland is over 3,800. So what we're seeing in these trends is, just as Dr. Keating mentioned, this virus is not going away. We're looking, as we enter flu season, just exactly how we're going to deal with it. So we are watching the data. We're working collaboratively with our state and local health departments. And the college is in a good position to find resources. So as we continue to battle this virus, we are making every attempt with all hands on deck, to quote Dr. Keating, to maintain a very safe environment at both the Gloucester and Cumberland campuses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hall. Dr. Rickards, next question is for you. So Dr. Keating already spoke to this, but can you please add more detail as to what our winter and spring semesters will look like?
Absolutely, Josh. So thank you. So for the winter term, what we're looking to do is to provide our traditional online delivery. Over the winter terms, we usually do not have face-to-face classes to begin with, so we will be continuing that. And so for the winter terms, we will have our traditional asynchronous type delivery. And what that is, that's the traditional online that students are used to, where they would log on, complete their work, following the due dates, but continuing through and completing the semester. For the spring term, it will look very much like the fall. Students will have the opportunity to choose from our traditional asynchronous online, which is just as I had described, where they would ultimately work specifically at their own pace while meeting the deadlines, not going on specifically required Zoom meetings, etc. We also will offer and continue to offer our live online delivery. The live online delivery, and the students will have the choice of each one of these, is where you are required to go on at specific meeting times for the faculty. The faculty can't necessarily require you to be on camera. However, they can work with you, and they will be providing lecture materials, working through the lectures as if you were in the classroom. Obviously, you're not in the classroom, but it will allow for that interactive type of an environment where you can ask the questions in real time while the faculty are ultimately covering that. So you could ultimately interact with the faculty as well as the students in that class. So the live online will have its own designation, and you will be able to choose that mode of delivery if that is what you require or if that's what you desire. We also will have our hybrid offerings, and the hybrid offerings will be, as they are this semester, very, very restrictive to the specific programs or courses that will require you to have the actual hands-on component in order to be successful. Now, that being said, if the nature of things do change, there's always the potential we could add in potentially other types of delivery methods later on in the semester. But again, that's going to be based on the health of our students as well as our faculty and staff. We have to keep in mind, if students are inside of a classroom, and this is kind of what we've been thinking about here, if we have one student or one faculty that does come down with COVID, you have to do a whole bunch of the actual tracing, and Dr. Hall is very familiar with this. There's a whole lot of contact tracing, as well as contact tracing outside of that classroom, and then quarantining that must be done. So what we're doing is we're making sure that we can keep our faculty, staff, and students as safe as possible by minimizing those types of interactions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. There's a question that came in from a student, and you've kind of answered this already, but I think it's important that folks really do understand this. And the question was, some students are concerned about having to attend classes virtually at specific times. One of our students submitted a concern stating that she has to help her student with remote learning during the day, and that makes it difficult for her to attend live online classes. The same student also has concerns about activating her webcam during live online classes. And I mean, not to put too fine of a point on it, but you just basically stated that we have two types of online courses right now, right? We have live online, which is going to meet on specific days and times. And if a student signs up for that, I guess they're required to be there during those times, right? If those classes aren't conducive, then you probably want to take a traditional online course that doesn't necessarily have required meeting times. Sound right?
Absolutely. So keep in mind, as a student, when you are registering for your classes, make sure that you understand exactly what the modality of delivery would be. And if you do choose a live online section, make sure that you're choosing one in a time slot that would be convenient for you. Our faculty and staff are working hard to develop schedules that will give a variety of different offerings for the different types of classes. So you should be able to select one that does fit you. If the live online is not going to work, so for example, I'm very, very well aware that a number of our students do have students that do have their own children at home that may be trying to learn online, or they may be raising their children or taking care of a loved one. Whatever your case may be, there may be a certain time slot, whether it's one of those circumstances or whether you're working at that time, that would not work for you. So make sure that you are selecting courses for the live online, for example, in a time slot that you would be available to break those classes, albeit at a virtual time slot. Or if not, make sure that you are selecting the classes that are asynchronous online, where your learning would not be at a set time. You still obviously would interact with the instructor via email. Some instructors in those modalities are having optional Zoom sessions. But again, optional Zoom sessions are more for, if you have any specific questions, et cetera.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. And I know you and I can definitely sympathize with this because we have little kids at home. We have young children at home, so we're dealing with those same issues, right? And it's pandemic life right now. So just again, choose wisely when you're looking at your schedule. Judy, quick question for you. We've talked about what the spring is going to look like in terms of how you're going to attend classes, but when will students be able to register for both the spring and the winter semesters?
So registration for our current students will be opening up on Monday, October 26th. And then with our new students, we're going to be opening up registration for winter and spring on November 16th. So between that time of October 26th and November 16th, our current students and their special cohort dates for registration as well within that time frame will be able to register. And we encourage everybody to who's currently enrolled to take advantage of that early, what we would kind of call early registration time frame, because once we open it up on November 16th, classes will go quickly. So as a current student, there's an advantage to going in and registering prior to. So I do encourage everybody to take advantage of that time.
Thank you very much. And remember, everyone, you can go to our website, rcsj.edu, and we have those dates there. You
Yes.
can go to rcsj.edu/enroll as an example, and we'll have those dates available for you. Dr. Rickards and Dr. Hall, this is a question for both of you, and comes from one of our students. So with regards to the spring semester, the student says that because of COVID, the student's been advised by their physician to not venture out because of health concerns. Student says, I'm currently taking my last course to finish my biomedical health sciences degree. Will the spring semester offer more courses online than in previous semesters? And I assume the student means the fall semester that we're in right now, to help students who are immunocompromised and need to complete their degree. And some example of those courses are some of the higher level courses like A&P 2, Anatomy and Physiology 2, Chemistry 2, Biology 2, Microbiology. And will health sciences courses be available online in the spring semester? Dr. Hall, it looks like you're going first.
Yeah, I can speak for the health sciences courses because they are in the Division of Nursing and Health Professionals. What we do when we look at putting courses in the modality is the best qualified faculty. So we are working collectively with our faculty who have been trained to teach online, and we want to provide the best opportunity that we can for the students. That's why, as Judy alluded, our registration is in a few weeks. We are in the process of developing those courses to just meet the needs of all students learning, as Dr. Brendan Rickards had described earlier, and I'll let him address the science courses.
Absolutely. So for the science classes, Dean Nace, as well as our faculty and staff on both campuses, have worked very, very hard over the summer as well as this fall to design the online delivery of the science laboratory courses. These lab courses will continue to be offered as an option with you in the online delivery. Again, the idea of that is that you would get a lab kit at home. You can do the work on your own, specifically at your residence. So therefore, you would not be required, in the case of the delivery of most of these courses, you would not be required to be on campus. So once again, we are here to keep you safe as students. And I will emphasize that the design of those labs, myself coming as a molecular biologist, the design of these labs is very much equivalent to what you would be receiving as if you were in the actual campus. You are doing the same hands-on lab work, just not doing it in a group type setting on campus.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rickards. I know I've heard really fantastic feedback about those lab kits and the way the students are able to engage in it. So I congratulate Dr. Nace and all of her science and STEM faculty. It was a lot to get done in a short amount of time, and they did a great job with it. Dr. Picone, our college recently came out with something called Flexstart. Can you explain what that is and how it can help our students enroll at the college?
Yeah, Flexstart was previously called Late Start, and these are mini sessions such as our 7- and 10-week courses that begin after the 15-week semester. Having flexible start dates for courses makes RCSJ best able to meet students' needs at this time. Also, Flexstart courses remove barriers, stress for students during these difficult times.
Thank you very much, Dr. Picone. We received another question, and it basically is this. So members of the college have been working hard to line up curriculum across both campuses. What we mean by that is making sure that the courses match up across both campuses. And want to know, what is the status of moving into a system where a student will be able to register across both campuses? Unfortunately, until we successfully implement a single student system, that means that students have to essentially pick a campus to register in. So, if the majority, if the courses that look good to you are at Cumberland, you'd want to register in the Cumberland system. I'm happy to announce that in the next few months, we're going to have a published plan to actually begin migrating into a single system. And once we're in a single student system, that will mean that a student will be able to register across any one of the campuses, be it the Cumberland campus, the Gloucester campus, or the online campus. I promise you it's something we're working towards and we want to complete as quickly as possible. But with all things around this pandemic, we had to kind of change what our focus was there for a bit and make sure that we can move all of our operations online. And now that we've really done that across the college, we're ready to really turn our sights back onto the ERP, the student system again. So that's just honestly where we stand with that today. Judy, another question for you. Can you discuss the various 2021 ceremonies around commencement, et cetera, how we plan to actually celebrate? And also, what are we going to do for the class of 2020 to make sure that we properly celebrate their achievements as well?
Sure. So the good news is we have time to plan this year. Last year, we did have to kind of quickly figure out how we were going to celebrate all the accomplishments as best we could, when we couldn't all be together. So not knowing exactly what the spring is going to look like at that time, we're going to be able to plan, and we're going to do it in the safest way possible for our students, their families, and faculty and staff. We are committed to celebrating these wonderful achievements, and so we have started preliminarily. We're only 6 weeks into the fall semester. That was our focus, but we are going to switch gears and look at how we are going to celebrate our December graduates as well as May, and what if we can have ceremonies, how these ceremonies will look. But like I said, this year we're afforded some time to be able to thoughtfully and thoroughly plan out what is going to be our best course of action. And we will absolutely inform everybody as soon as we know what our final plans will be. We have not forgotten, and we have not forgotten the class of 2020 either. They are part of this entire planning process.
Thank you very much, Judy. Let's see, Susan Nardelli's next question's for you. So some of our staff, some of our employees want to know what community outreach that we have done so far around the pandemic and making sure that people know that we are available for courses, as well as what we plan to do in the future. So just in terms of marketing and reaching out to Gloucester and Cumberland counties, what are our college's plans?
Sure. So going forward, well, actually, our campaign has been moving you forward. So right now, everything you keep hearing that we're going out with the message of don't stop, don't put your future on hold. We just want our students, the community, the whole public to keep moving forward. And we're here to help you do that. So we've done a whole variety of media outreach through the summer. It included ads on TV, traditional print, and of course digital as well. So going into looking at our winter and spring, we're going to continue some of those things, and what we do have coming up in the month of November, we've got it quite a bit because we know that the community, like, they just want some sort of personal kind of touch and connection. So we do have a newsletter that's going to be coming out. We have some of those spadias, which is the big ad that wraps around the newspaper. We also are still working on press releases, news stories. When we hear about something good, we get it out. So just a heads up, be on the lookout for a veterans story. There's a piece from a Cumberland student that's really fabulous that will be coming beginning of November. And so all of these pieces, they have that student story or testimonial that's attached to them to help connect with our community, with our students. And, we'll continue again with our digital advertising that drives everything to the website, because that's the world we live in right now. It's all online. And so along with being, moving you forward, it's about being affordable, flexible, and transferable, especially coming up here with the winter intersession, knowing that, we're trying to get the visiting students and making sure to get the message out that, yes, our credits do transfer back to your institution. So that's the plan so far of where we're headed.
Thank you very much, Susan. Everything that you and your department's been doing just looks absolutely fantastic. Dr. Rickards, a question for you. It comes from one of our students, and the student says, I'm currently a student this fall semester and wish to know more about the 3+1 program. I'm currently a communications major. I'd like more info on what is involved with getting into the 3+1 program.
So thank you. So for the 3+1 programs, it's important to note that you must be in specific majors in order to progress into the 3+1. You technically do not enter into the 3+1 program until your third year. So you have to earn a degree from the college and then progress and transfer into that third year of the major. In terms of communication, I believe most likely what you're looking at is the radio, television, and film type degree. The best thing that I could advise you to do with you just starting out at the college would be to immediately contact the Rowan University Center. In particular, the individual that runs that university center is Dr. Michael Flyanakos. I would encourage you to contact Rowan University Center, and he's over top of that on both campuses, and he can help get you into the specific major, make sure that you're taking the correct courses in order to matriculate into that third-year program at Rowan University. The whole idea of the 3+1 is you would complete 3 years at RCSJ and then complete your degree with that 1 year, paying only 1 year of tuition of Rowan University. So again, I would contact Dr. Flyanakos so that he can make sure he gets you the correct advice and make sure that the courses that you are taking and the major that you are pursuing is the correct one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. I think last year we had our first kind of graduating class from 3+1. Some of the student workers in my department are RTF majors, and they were really happy with the experience. And you know, what's important about that is, especially with the pandemic and the economy, you save a lot of money and you still get a great experience. And when you graduate, your degree says Rowan University on it. So it's really the best of all worlds. Let's see, Nick, this next question is for you. It comes from one of our staff, but really they're asking kind of on behalf of our students. And the question is this: I understand the college is open and students can utilize the library and computer labs in limited capacity. I have a few students who enjoyed working on campus and other locations to complete their assignments. These areas included the lobby of Scott Hall, the College Center, and the University Center. Are these locations open to our students to complete work if they actually want to be on campus?
And Josh, I would strongly encourage the students to utilize what's currently open, and that would be the library and some of your computer labs. I would like everyone to stay away at this point from coming on campus to sit in a lobby of a building that's open, because that puts a little tax burden on our custodial staff that has to keep coming behind and cleaning. So if we could, I would strongly encourage just utilize the current facilities that are open, and hopefully as we start understanding and health gets better and the governor starts opening up the situation a little more, then we can open up more strategically. But until then, I would really like to see everyone just going to the areas that are currently been advertised to be open.
Thanks, Nick. It's all about being safe at this point. Next question is for you, Dr. Picone. A returning student has a concern that after 3 or more years, they should be awarded financial aid despite their past academic progress. I guess the question is, due to this pandemic, has the federal government changed any of their rules that would allow our college to legally offer aid to a student who has kind of used up all of their aid?
Well, at this time, no changes have been made to the financial aid regulations. That would allow the student to receive aid if they have not made academic progress. Financial aid regulations include the entire history of the student. The student does have the option to appeal, and they can go through the appeal process on either campus. I would imagine that if a student was denied aid, it is most likely because they already had an appeal and did not meet the conditions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Picone. And let's see, I think have just one more question here, and this one is for you, Nick. As the state continues to slowly open, can you project what our on-campus staffing profile will look like as we approach and then enter into the spring semester?
Yeah, I wouldn't even touch that one. So, but in reality, I would continue contacting and stay in contact with your supervisor and your vice president, because you can really work at your desk if you choose to. So as Dr. Keating said earlier on, we're still doing flex scheduling. We're still doing social distancing. So right now, I believe even for the spring semester, I kind of see we're in the same holding pattern where if you can come to work and it's a social distance and we can do it, great. If you're not able to do it, you're working from home, you have that understanding with your supervisor, great. But I would continue working with your supervisors on this because it's going to be fluid. And if we do get any more information from the state of New Jersey, from higher education, that takes us into maybe stage 3, we definitely would communicate that. But I would, I'm not good at reading tea leaves right now, so I would stay in contact with your supervisors on your daily work schedule.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Before we end today's session, I have 3 quick commercials. The first is we've had some questions come through. Students want to know, or they want to know where they send their fellow friends to if they want to try to register. And that place to go is rcsj.edu/enroll. We'll make sure that that's posted in the chat. I think Dan is bringing up what that website looks like right now. But this really is the place where we will funnel all of the really important information to let a student, let a parent, let a guardian know when registration opens up and really what you need to know in order to register. So thanks for all those questions. It's a great webpage, place to go. Tomorrow, October 15th at 11 a.m., our Human Resources Department is hosting an open enrollment information session for all employees. The state of New Jersey has made many changes to healthcare plans, so it is really important to attend and ask your questions. Look for emails from Lauren Vilmus with details of how to attend that. Secondly, the Gloucester campus is holding a General College Assembly meeting on November 4th at 11 a.m. through Zoom. You can find more information by logging into the portal. Participation is critically important as we navigate these uncharted waters. Make sure you also vote on proposed changes to the College Assembly at the Gloucester campus. You can find your electronic ballot, again, in the Gloucester portal. And then finally, a quick reminder for our students, and it's something that Nick actually spoke about, the libraries on both campuses are open. So if you need any type of library resources, you can go there. If you need computer resources, you need a quiet place to study, our libraries are available. You can find more information by going to the enroll page that's up right now. And then finally, thank you all for attending. Our goal, as I think we're putting out there, is to be as transparent as possible as we make these important decisions. Remember, we're in this together, and together we will beat this pandemic and we'll be stronger for it. Godspeed.